Hello, Exiles. Very long time no see, but, you enter kind of the later stages of a Poe League and everything slows down. And I was no exception, but here we are. I wanted to do a final update on the build because, quite frankly, it deserves it. I have never put this much investment into Kitava Source before, and we'll have some really basic bossing stuff on the side, just something I threw together real quick. And it's a little toned down because there is an upgrade I don't have on the build yet that I really wanted to get, and I even have some crazy expensive items for sale that just they wouldn't sell. I was gonna wait until they sold, which is probably why this took a little longer than it needed to, but my big ticket items haven't sold yet, and the upgrade I'm looking for is like 120 divs if I'm lucky. And that's specifically a +4 amulet, which would be +2/+2 on the Fizz All. It's a really big deal because not only does it give us the final level we need to like max Unearth, but it would also give us additional levels into Desecrate, which currently the corpses go up to, what is it, level 84. So outside of Ubers, generally speaking, your Desecrate is hitting at full power. Only in Ubers specifically does that final extra level matter, but it does matter. And, you know, I didn't really do an Uber showcase this time because I feel like the build is still missing a very big upgrade. I could also, if I really wanted to be pedantic about it, I could drop this for a Mage Blood, and I could really pump the defenses, which it's all a little extravagant. I'm not going to say it's not worth it anymore, though, because quite frankly, the build does pretty well. It does. If you cut out the upgrades I'm talking about, this is still an expensive build, but I wouldn't call it necessarily prohibitively expensive, right? One of the showcases is just like a Deathless Katarina and a T-17 because, well, I promised it last time, but also now that I know the fight and a little bit about what the build can handle, it was pretty easy to roll one up and just do one real quick. And you can see the map open in the background. I just recorded that. So far, should pull up this tree instead. I haven't found an Atlas strategy that it like necessarily has trouble with, but I also haven't been running like crazy juiced ones. This is just like Ritual with Beyond. It's just kind of a homeward thing. Oh, and Rogue Exiles, which is funny because there are 2 Rogue Exiles and a Synthesis boss in my Katarina room, which I was completely unaware of was going to happen. But again, Deathless. Yeah, very good. The build's incredibly durable. We already knew that. It's not necessarily incredibly durable in an Uber way, though. That's where like the concept of a Mage Blood comes in, because you could run whichever flask you need with all that increased effect to kind of get the corresponding resistance up to 89 or 90%, and then it would be kind of tanky in like the Uber prospect of how things work. But let's do it. The final go over for the League, that is, unless while I'm playing Ultimate RuneScape in the background, one of these items actually sells, then I might actually do one more video with just kind of like an Uber showcase where I get the last upgrades for the build and show what it can do at like actual full power. But we do have some changes since last time, but I'm just going to kind of go over everything. I'm going to start with the more basic stuff and work our way up to our more fanciful and incredible upgrades that we've been going over. Obviously, first item, Kitava Source. This is the entire build is based around it. I've said this before, I will say it again. A +4 corruption is not at all necessary. It's just that this isn't really like all that expensive. In fact, I bet if I go look it up right now, there's none for sale. What you actually want would be a +2 fire, which is like +10 or 10C, I guess, more or less. And the reason why +2 fire is more important is because it also buffs your support gems, more or less. The +2 AoE, it does a little bit. You get a tiny bit of radius and a tiny bit of like corpse life scaling, so it's not a non-factor upgrade. It's also just not very important. You want +2 fire, I guess, which is not that expensive, or just a baseline one, and it's not going to change much about how the actual skill performs, because most of our scaling comes from the Unearth gem and our 6 link. Next, and certainly not least, the little pair of gloves that for some reason never left, Oblivion Grip Nexus gloves. These guys, I'm shocked that I stuck with them. I was really expecting to remove them, but, you know, I ended up going a different amulet choice this time around, so I needed to get something else in the trinity of mana fixing. So I kept the gloves, which means I can't use something like these guys, which I actually just dropped these a couple days ago, which is hilarious. A chill increased damage with hits mod. This is what you want if you're not using Nexus gloves. Very expensive item to get it, like at this quality, but if you get like a basic one, you're fine. Additionally, just as like a general tip, that cold res mod, the temple one that has the increased damage with hits against chilled enemies, if you get that mod, because when I originally got this, that was not cold res, it was the lightning res one, but you can use the harvest crafts. This is always important to tell people. Like, you can use this, so like, the lightning to cold one, I used that, and it changed it to cold. So it also changed the shocked chance mod to the corresponding damage with hits against chilled enemies mod. And that's cool, because it is a very potent damage mod to get on a piece of equipment. And just, you know, it rolled high life and has some decent resistances on an armor ES base, and there's really nothing else like that right now in the market, so that's another potential payday. I have plenty of cash. It's just the items I need to upgrade this build at this point are absurd. Finally, boots. Of course, the most important thing on boots is cooldown recovery rate, which I don't actually have on my boots right now because I have that on my belt. It's right, yeah. If you have excess amounts of cast speed, getting a little more cooldown recovery rate can be very like impactful. And my current Merc has haste, which is why I'm using it on a belt right now. I could easily go back to cooldown recovery rate just in general on the boots, but it's really cozy to have that travel skill stuff against unique enemies, because it just guarantees my flame dash is always up, and I like that a lot. That's a personal choice. It's definitely not optimal. Having an even better cooldown recovery rate here, and then like cooldown recovery rate here, and then having tons more cast speed could potentially be something to boost the DPS quite substantially on the build too. It's just not something I've really terribly pursued right now, because there is already so much to go on, and like we'll get to the rings next to really explain. So I have minion damage rings. I don't think this really needs to be explained too much. You want life, you want resistances to fix your stuff, maybe stats because you're looking to get certain dexterity thresholds met long term. I usually go with reduced mana cost of skills to get Unearth's cost down. The closer we are to 100, the better. Big life, minion damage, big resistance. This is a nice ring. This is a synthesized one that gives gain arcane. This ring, however, is synthesized with gain arcane surge on hit with spells, which is nice because it gives A, cast speed, and B, mana regen, which are both very nice things to have on the build. The actual base is not that expensive, which was very surprising to me. Yeah, the base will run you a div, and then you have the horrible task of getting life and a decent minion damage rolled together, which did not go well for me. This was a settle after throwing way too much currency at it. This is definitely something that needs to be recrafted, but it is a very nice, impactful piece of equipment because that mana regeneration rate is very potent, and the cast speed is very nice for when you're spinning up. Having that extra burst at the beginning is very, very good for that, and that translates to a lot of damage against bosses in kind of an indirect way, because when you have to stop casting, right, you have to move because they're doing something that will kill you. Getting spun up again is usually the biggest impact on your DPS, because the build actually does a pretty decent amount of DPS. I was clocking it at like conservatively 10 million, and I say very conservatively. Realistically, when I'm spun up and like everything's going and stuff, it's closer to like 16 million, and if I had my final upgrade, it would be like 20 million, which is awesome, right? 20 million DPS is fantastic on a build. You're gonna see, like, I have like baseline Eater and Exarch stuff going on over there. Yeah, I had it the right going on over there, and maybe that doesn't translate that well. It's really hard to tell exactly what my DPS is, because it's hard to tell how many instances of detonate dead of chaining are actually running at a given time. We just know that it's a lot, because I'm constantly putting out corpses. I'm putting them out 6 at a time because I have Awakened GMP, which is another upgrade that's extravagant, but I went for anyways. And then additionally, we have, you know, the Desecrate putting down corpses. Usually the Desecrate will put out higher quality corpses than an Unearthed Bone Archer, but our Unearthed Bone Archers are level 88. So I kind of call that a wash, more or less. Depending on the map, you could get more or less DPS. I think we actually swing up a little bit on T17s because the Desecrate is pulling a bit more weight. If I had the final extra level on it, because what is the zone level in the Ziggurat? Is it 85? We have the technology. It's 84. Okay, so no, it's doing its maximum effort, but it does feel like it's helping quite a bit over in, say, like a normal Pinnacle fight, where mostly you're just doing it because it is extra corpses to keep the Detonate Deads of Chaining going for longer and more of them going at a time, which is just, I mean, it's more damage. The belt is pretty generic Stygian Vice stuff. If you can get cooldown recovery rate on it, which, you know, Barons or Crusaders, Exalted Orb, you can get that appropriate influence on it and then attempt to slap a bunch of cooldown recovery rate. That's pretty good, especially if you have excess cast speed. And like I said, I have Arcane Surge, I have my my Kineticist, who gives me haste and stuff, which, unfortunately, I should say this about Mercs. We don't get a ton from them. Like, you put the best gear on them you can that'll give you damage, but mostly I use them for speed to map faster, right? I wanted one with haste. Kineticist does it. They also use elemental weakness, which is already a curse I'm running, so it doesn't like interfere with anything in my curse setup. So that just made a lot of sense. They're tri-stat, so you can put any piece of equipment on them. Seem nice. It's been working pretty well so far. Obviously, again, if you're going to run a jewel here, you just try to get life and corresponding resistances. Increased effective lightning elements will also help, because our shock is a... Here. Our shock is a baseline shock effect, right? It does 15%, and if you increase your lightning elements, that'll get stronger, which is why we make some skill tree choices that I'll get to in a bit. Replica Dragon Fangs Flight is kind of the new staple. I super duper recommend this if you can get it, and I'm sure +3 Unearth is, yeah, it's dirt cheap relatively speaking. This is incredibly impactful on the build. It's really, really strong just to have those extra levels, but you don't necessarily need them early. It's kind of a weird relationship where getting extra levels on Unearth gets better over time exponentially more than other gems, because the way corpse life scaling works. And the big thing to consider about that is we get to level 29, right? Level 88 corpse. If I get one more level, it goes to level 90 corpses. It's a 20% damage increase overall. It's giant, right? That's ridiculous for the level of investment we're already at, right? To have one thing do that. And yeah, so what are we at? We're at shield now, which shield is pretty basic. You can do a lot of things with it. You want block, obviously. You want some reduced extra damage from crit. You want fizz damage reduction, which is, it's big. You don't actually need spell block if you have the right investment on the tree elsewhere. You don't have to get spell block. You don't have to waste an affix on that, which is nice, because I got fire damage as extra chaos, which is actually one of the better damage modifiers we can get from the crafting bench overall, because that does affect all fire damage, which includes the corpse explosion. Otherwise, shield, just like body armor, we really want that additional physical damage reduction, because we're not running endurance charges, and we only have 18,000 armor. And I say only, right? It's what, 28,000 with the flask up, and this is a well-rolled flask. I say only, but in the grand scheme of thing against like aspirational content, this plus the additional fizz damage reduction, which is at this point 15%, and then 11% of damage from hits taken as physical damage, or sorry, taken as lightning damage, also helps a lot. I think that's another 8 point something percent. And the reason why these are important is because, I mean, our helmet's taken, so we don't have the 6% mod. We don't have endurance charges. We have determination, right? We are getting a substantial amount of armor. There's no denying that. But you really have to get to like certain thresholds in higher content, or the game you're playing is kill them before they kill you. And this build can survive. You know, it's the point of it. Last but certainly not least, the big scepter. This was an expensive one. Let me tell you. if I sound out of breath, it's actually just thinking about this scepter, not having to talk fast for 14 minutes straight. No, Gloomnell, Oscillating Scepter. +2 Fizz spell gems. This was a pain in the ass to make, because I had to fracture it myself. And fracturing orbs are expensive. They're like 9 divs right now. So this is the first of the properly really, really expensive pieces of equipment on the build that I'm showing right now. Everything else has been varying degrees of like less than 5 div, generally speaking. This is, I don't know how much this is. I don't think I could even, I don't think there's even one for sale. Oh, okay, well, I'm stupid. But also with the trigger craft, also with minion damage. The suffix fire damage is kind of cute. I was really happy with that. I was like, oh man, what a nice little little kiss on the cheek at the end there. But yeah, that's the weapon. This is everything that you want, more or less. And the +1 to all skill gems is very important, because that does push the Desecrate up a bit more. Desecrate's currently in a 4-link setup with just a level regular 3 in power. I should mention, I could get a level 4 in power to not need the other thing for Ubers, which maybe I should have done that and just not been lazy. But yeah, so that pushes this up to 84, which is very important for level 84 content, you know, your tier 17s, your pinnacle bosses and whatnot. This is the weapon. This is the dream. That last suffix could be something else, but I really cannot complain, so I'm not going to. I'm very happy with this. It was a pain in the ass to get. We use the Oscillating Scepter base because it gives us elemental overload, and that saves us skill points on the tree, which the tree is something. God damn, let me tell you. And I have a lot to tell you. Let's go ahead and pull up P.O. Bizzle. And look, there it is. There's the build. You just saw it a moment ago. You're seeing it again. The numbers down here, again, they're... I don't want to call them conservative. I don't want to call them generous. This is what I think it's at. I think it's 10 instances, which is not hard to... That's the wrong one. Not hard to do. The corpse life is scaled off of what we're supposed to have. The next 2 levels bring this up to like 130,000. That's why like gem level is so silly, because Unearth's corpse is the... You know, hold on. I'm gonna pull up the PoDB graph. This is what I really need to show people who want to understand. This is the corpse life scaling. Do you see what it's doing at the end there? That's where the damage is. That's where the damage in the build is. At level, what is it? 70? This is level 20, right? This is level 20 gem. At level 70, 10,000. By level 76, so plus 3 levels, that's like empower, well, okay, we'll say that's a level 21 gem, plus 1 on your weapon, plus 1 on your amulet. You've doubled the corpse life. This is when the skill generally starts feeling good. Another couple levels, right? You either upgrade in the empower, you get plus 2 on something. Actually, let's go 3 levels, right? We'll say replica Dragon Fang's flight as well, mixed in there. We're up to 40k. 40k then immediately goes to 50k with 1 more level. It then goes to 60. And here we are at 72? Oh yeah, yes, 72k. I know what you're about to say. What, 72k? We have 54% increased corpse life. So times 1.54, you get to the 119k value. That almost scared me for a second. I forgot it was like that. Jump scared myself. I was like, oh no, I've done it all wrong. I have done some like some testing just to look at things. I don't think it's recorded here because it was elsewhere. Mage Blood especially would actually be like the huge defensive buff, and then the +4 amulet is like push it over the top, go to 20 million DPS. When you're fully spun up, obviously you're not 20 million DPS all the goddamn time. I wish it was, but it's not. That would be like, what is it? Ephemeral Edge, Trickster, Smite stuff, where you just 20 million DPS every second of every day, which is crazy. It's crazy how strong that looks, especially with all the defense it has, man. It's like, damn. I wish every build could be like that, but no, that's not how it's gonna work. But there are some small changes that have been made on the tree since I last showed. Brutal Restraint is now down here. This is because we have more nodes to take advantage of, because upon hitting level 99, which I should actually... Sorry. To tell people to just like leave when I'm selling stuff if I'm logged into the game, because if you have it listed for sale, sell it. Be courteous to your fellow exiles. Anyway, we move it down here. We have 3 nodes that we're hitting now instead of the 2 that were over here. So we've got 60% damage and dexterity fixing on 1 jewel, which is quite nice. We could also potentially look into like a keystone take with one of the keystones. I don't remember exactly what they do, but I remember not being excited with them over here. And of course, it doesn't actually change anything, which is very convenient. And so the big change from 98 to 99 is we spec out of this node, right? We take this away and we take this. Ash, Frost, and Storm used to be kind of a meme node. It's not anymore. It really is not anymore, because it gives effective non-damaging ailments, 30% increased effective non-damaging ailments in a vacuum, like on its own. Takes our Scorch from, what is it? Scorch, did I just say, I said Scorch. Our Shock from 15% to 19.5%. So it's a big buff to everything else, and then we get the resistance that we kind of lost back on these nodes, as well as some extra dexterity fixing, which is it's just generally nice, because we need some dexterity to run all of these crazy support gens, not least of which is Awaken GMP, which you can't just use an underleveled GMP when you're running this. Otherwise, we'd only ever need, what is it, like 100 dex for the build. So we need to get that from somewhere. Replica Dragon Fang's flight can be taken off now, and it won't necessarily brick the build, which is important. Although it would brick the build a little. I think I'd actually have to level this back down if I took this off right now, which is pretty funny. Alternatively, I would have to make some changes to get a bit more dexterity, which I can do, so I'm not like terribly concerned about that. And that is what we would do if we got the final +4 amulet. That's the problem, though. A +4 amulet's like 120 divs. It's basically a Mage Blood plus a Mage Blood to get improvements on the build. And I have stuff I could sell to make that happen. It just has to sell, right? I got very lucky with a triple Wrath Watcher's Eye. And the only other person who's selling this kind of Watcher's Eye is selling it for significantly more than me. But, you know, that doesn't mean it's going to sell, especially this late in the league. Even if it's a good item and priced well, you could be waiting a long time. I will bring it down to 150 though, because I'm done, right? If I could just get one of those upgrades to do another video, that'd be nice at this point. I shouldn't really be like trying to scrounge up a little bit of money. I could even bring it down to 100 probably, because I have 64 in the bank. We're not broke. Anyway, this is like some final side notes, things that I didn't record, but I've like done in the months since last making a video. We did complete a max simulacrum, which was cool, right? Yeah, 15 out of 15 waves, very nice. That, I feel like that says more about the tankability of the build than anything else. I did have to learn how to fight Kosis. He would have absolutely buttered my bread if I didn't properly learn the fight, because the last wave had reduced charges on hit, which sucked, right? Luckily, my mana flask has gained 3 charges when you are hit, so this didn't run out, but these did, which sucks because Kosis has corrupting blood, and I don't have immunity spec right at the moment, so that was stressful. We got through it though. As you know, I got a really cool medium cluster jewel from it that is like two minion damage nodes and then Born of Chaos, which is +3 max chaos res. It's the only good one I've ever found. And yeah, outside of that, I guess I have to say I loved this league. This was a great league. I played a lot too. Like I really played a lot. I actually have, I can back out here. I have characters, right? I have all of these characters. And then I played solo Southbound too, and I did a little bit over there, which was also fun. This was mostly, what was this? This guy's like a Fizz Dot Hierophant, which is doing pretty well. And then these guys were both kind of tests of Spellslinger, which, man, I really want Spellslinger to be good, but it just doesn't feel like there's ever a situation where Spellslinger is better than any other form of casting, right? It's too strongly nerfed. And even the fringe scenarios where you can like make an interaction happen more efficiently, it's just not enough. That said, the most effective Spellslingers I found currently are Fizz Dot, or sorry, not Fizz Dot, Cold Dot Occultist, believe it or not, with Creeping Frost, right, for shotguns, and then also Vortex of Projection, which can also shotgun. So you can get some advantage out of the like the flat damage you're kind of scaling on the side of the gem, as well as just you very effectively deliver all of your cold dots. So it has like, it is very nice clear, but it's going to, for solo stuff on especially, it's going to take tons of investment to like get the damage feeling nice for like properly profitable content at this stage of the league, at least. Fizz Dot Hierophant actually seems really strong. I could see that going somewhere with time. And then like, I've got some other things potentially irons in the fire that I don't know if I have the interest to pursue right this second. I got a really nice Dark Monarch for potentially Dominating Blow. This is like a borderline perfect roll, that was kind of cool to get. This is actually worth a few divs. But Double Sentinels of Dominance actually works quite well with the way that I generally scale Dominating Blow. So I think I was POBing it on a Necromancer, and without very much effort at all, it hit 10 million DPS, that's pretty interesting to me. There's obviously going to be things that I haven't considered, so that will probably honestly be a league start recommendation for next league, assuming nothing gets catastrophically nerfed. But outside of that, I mean, now that I've kind of taken Kitava's Thirst with the corpse blasting to this level, I want to give final thoughts. And I think my big final thought right now is that for the level of investment that I have in this build, it doesn't quite do enough. Maybe that's greedy to say. I kind of feel like maybe Unearth should get to a higher corpse level at 20. Like, not even a massive amount, like 72 or 74. Or I guess considering they nerfed the only other Kitava's, well, I shouldn't say they did. This is the only build that uses Kitava's Thirst as our damage, like as the thing that delivers our damage. All the other builds use it to like proc frostbolts and whatnot, generally speaking. There might be some that I'm sorry if I've offended you and I don't know about your build that also does it, but generally speaking, that's what this does. And I can't help but wonder if maybe they could just like put a 20% more damage modifier for whatever's triggered in here. Maybe that's asking a lot. It could be, absolutely. I would be fine if they moved it up a rarity tier. I just, for what's put into the build, it feels like it should do a little more damage, right? The tank is good, but at the very, very high stuff, right, the tank does fall off a little bit. Things in T17s can kill me if I just get like the wrong mob spawning. Well, I mean, those bastards who make the little lightning balls, they kill everyone from what I hear. So I shouldn't really take that as a take that as like a negative, but man, I just feel like it should do a little bit more. But I could be wrong. Maybe you're watching this and you're like, no, man, that build needs to be nerfed, which is hilarious because it has been nerfed indirectly like 4 times in a row or something. I don't know, every single league since Affliction, it's caught some sort of an indirect nerf. And it just keeps chugging along, being an amazing league starter that scales actually pretty well into the late game. But you do deal with kind of a lull. There is a lull where you kind of get your first 2 Void Stones, and at that point the build does not feel very strong. And your investment is not well rewarded at that point, which is part of why I would like to see the corpse level scaling of Unearth changed a little bit so that it gets up to like 74 at 20, because yeah, it's a little bit of fall off there, and I don't see anyone else using Unearth in that way, right? To do things with the corpses. Generally speaking, if you're doing Detonate Dead, you're just running Desecrate. It's so much easier to just scale Desecrate if you already have to cast that stuff on your own. The reason why we use Unearth is because it has a cast time of 0.3, which is awesome, you know? And we can scale the hell out of it. Otherwise, yeah, not much else has changed. I should mention there's, you know, level 4 Empower, level 4 Enhance in the build. You know what? Actually, I do have one more thing. I'm trying to be as comprehensive as possible about this so that all stones have been turned over. Where is it? Where's my fun staff? Here's my fun staff. This is a +5 Fizz staff. The reason I have a +5 Fizz staff is so that I can take Unearth over its current levels, and we're just going to move these real quick for the point of discussion. So, we put this in. Unearth goes to level 31. The corpses are still level 90. Even though that's where they should, they get to 90 at level 30, so that extra level does nothing. But every 2 levels after does give it another corpse level. So going from 30 to 32 is incredibly difficult, but you can get to corpses at level 91. Now, as far as I know, monster corpse life scaling does continue. And if that's the case, believe it or not, as hard as this is to do, there's kind of a fringe situation where this might even be worth it, right? There might even be a situation where this build does reach properly impressive looking DPS numbers if you have, okay, I'm sorry. If you have, how would I put this? If you have like a +4 corrupted body armor to go alongside everything else. Because, again, the corpse level scaling is exponential in a really big way. 2 levels off of 90, which I believe that's kind of the realistic max you can reach, unless you're trying to do an actual staff version of the build. Realistically, you can get to level 92 corpses. But the way the corpse scaling is kind of constantly increasing because the game is getting exponentially more difficult, that's like, I don't know, probably 25 million DPS. It's literally 25% more DPS over where it would be at level 30. That's still worth it if you can make it happen, right? That's a big number increase at that stage of the build. I don't exactly want to try to do that because burnout is a thing, and as much as the game abuses me, I do want to give Path of Exile 2 another try when the update hits, and that's kind of imminent. All that said, this build has gone on for way too long. I didn't record nearly enough stuff to cover all the talking I did. I didn't realize I had this much talking to do. I guess a lot has happened. Otherwise, if you like the build, there'll be a thing on the screen here right before the outro where, or during the outro where it'll tell you how to watch the original build guide. And, yeah. Kitava's Thirst Corpseblaster. I don't know why this build is still good. When I started this league, I was pessimistic. I thought it was just okay for a league starter, but no, actually, it's still good. It is. It's still good. It's so hard to make a build strong these days. At least in my opinion, it is. It is very hard to make a build just actually feel strong. So to get to this level of character power that is so universal, right? It's like everything under aspirational, this build does just fine. Except for at Siri, because I'm lazy and haven't solved Reflect. I could solve Reflect, actually. We can do that. I forgot some stuff. I do have a Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh giving Mastermind of Discord. I could switch this to the one that would make it so I don't take Elemental Reflect for Atsiri, which is kind of a cool idea. And then I could do Uber Atsiri and the Feared on the build, which I still haven't done. But yeah, I also have I have Forbidden stuff going on now. This gives some mana regen and minus 25% resistance when we apply exposure, which we do through Awakened Fire Pen, and the fact that we hit like 1,000 times every second. I think that's all. The POB is linked below. If I forgot anything, it'll be in there, I swear. Anyway, have a good one, Exiles.